You know what I mean? I wanted to go live, so we could build, real quick just on this explosive topic, that was once, a topic back in the days, and it kind of fell off from, the headlines, I guess, but now over the last really like, since Spike Lee's movie of Malcolm X, it's kind of resurfaced. But then really in like the last week, it's like resurfaced again, with a, deathbed confession, from someone who was a agent, working with, an organization who plotted on, the death of Malik El Haj Shabazz, our brother Malcolm X. You know what I mean? And like, yo, God, I was at the Justice Cipher born. Hey, you hit me with the link, to Dr. Wesley's joint. Yo, yo, he just blew my mind with a lot of stuff. Cause it's like a lot of stuff I kind of knew, you know what I mean, just hearing just over the years, but he really like put a lot of the pieces of the puzzle together with just a lot of questions that I had, like, damn, well, why did Malcolm do that? You know what I'm saying? Or why did Malcolm say this knowing that, but he said that? And, and he just put a lot of things into perspective. So, first of all, I want to say thanks, God, for, you know what I'm saying, passing that link over to me so I can check that out. Very informative video. What you got out of it, God? What you got out of the video?
That piece is essential, man. You gotta have that in your files, man, because Dr. Wesley went all the way in. This topic is ongoing, man. It's like, this cipher gonna stay in rotation, man. It's been in rotation for almost 60 years now, especially during Black History Month, because this is the time around he got killed, February 21st, 1965. And then it surfaced again during his born day, which is May 19th, 1925. So it's like, it's infinite, man. Then, movies coming out. Now they got TV series based on it,
Yeah.
They probably going to bring back the after school special and make that into a joint, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The slander, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, and make him look like the villain, That's the aim.
Yeah. Clearly, you know what I'm saying? I mean, somebody left a post one time, I can't even remember which one of the guards left it. But, it's like, how can you say that the Nation of Islam had something to do with the death of Malcolm X when these, quote unquote agents, these these FOI were agents working within the United States government? I mean, one of the, Dr. Wesley broke out, he came with just receipts out the ass. Like, it was just crazy. He had mad receipts. But when you read the counterintelligence program of J. Edgar Hoover, all of the Black organizations have been infiltrated by the United States government.
Right.
He showed and proved that. Even gangs, dealing just on a street level. But J. Edgar Hoover's reason for that was, we have to neutralize, and he showed that neutralize is like their code word for assassinate. We have to neutralize the Black Messiah, one who is gonna, be raised from among that group of people or those individuals who can electrify those individuals and get them up and moving. You know what I mean? That's the individual we gotta, be cautious of. And the thing is, he sent people here, there, everywhere. Even if we go back as far as Marcus Garvey's movement.
UNIA.
You know what I'm saying? The UNIA. Agent 800. I mean, like there's always been government moles that look just like us, look just like me and you.
Right.
But they don't work for us. They work at the behest of the United States government. So in knowing that, why do people, as Dr. Wesley made such a beautiful point, he said, you don't never hear people say, yo, why the Panthers kill Fred Hampton? You know what I mean?
Indeed.
Why didn't somebody from the SCLC, Dr. Martin Luther King's organization, why they don't get accused of killing Dr. King or having a role in Dr. King's death?
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
Why don't members of the UNIA get accused of Marcus Garvey, entering into a bad trade deal, which is what the agent provoked him to do, according to the history. And then ultimately he got hit with, tax, fraud and all kind of other stuff, and he was sent to federal prison. But why don't they get accused of that?
Right.
You know what I mean? But yet in the Nation of Islam, it don't matter if they work for the United States government. I don't care. Elijah Muhammad still had something to do with Malcolm X's death. You know what I'm saying? Like that just, it blows my mind, God.
Right. The Bureau, J. Edgar Hoover, it wasn't called the FBI then when the UNIA was moving around. It was called something else. I can't remember, but it later formed into the FBI. But you're right, he did have files on Garvey. He had files on every movement or black organization, whether they was militant or docile. He had a file on them.
That's an actual fact.
So that's the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is the FBI would plant people within organizations as agent provocateurs. They want to provoke you to do something militant, so they can bring up charges on you, or they may just plant you to cause dissension in the ranks or just gather intel.
Right.
What I mean? Whatever the case may be. So
everyone has a role. Yeah.
Right. So the elephant in the room is always, why can't that be the case when it comes to the nation? Like, why can't the 5 people that Talmadge Hair named be agents? You know what I mean? Why is everybody so starch? Oh no, they was in the nation. The nation killed Malcolm. They hated Malcolm. And people stay fixated on that. But it's a strange topic because it's like, how can I say? It's not something that you will hide. You see what I'm saying? It's not something like Malcolm said in his book that he taught so many of the FOI how to think, right? And he said out of his own mouth, he said that a FOI would make himself a hero by killing him if he thought that's what Allah wanted him to do.
Right.
See? So Malcolm thought like that himself, and he trained others to think like that. So my point is, why don't you hear the assassin, right? Talmadge Hair, the assassin. Why is he not on record for bragging about killing, actually accomplishing it? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I killed Malcolm because he was talking reckless about the messenger. You don't see that. You don't see that on record, and that's strange because if you go to such an extent to kill a world-renowned leader, I mean, this man was known all around the world for over a decade. Or at least the 5 years when the media began to focus in on him, zero in on Malcolm. Like, he's an icon, a living icon.
Who wouldn't want to kill him and claim the fame?
Right, and then I claim the fame. Like, you can't say he wanted to protect the messenger because he could have said, I did it, out of my own love for the messenger. I'm a zealot. You know what I mean? I did it. Just, like you brought up before, the group, I believe in Washington, D.C., the Hanafi movement, when they ran up in that house and killed the family, they killed the babies, And they said it straight up
children,
because the
and
dude
they
was
said
talking
why they did it.
right.
Right,
Why he did. He was talking reckless about the messenger. He was a former secretary of the nation,
right,
and
right,
he said some disparaging remarks about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad that these
mm,
particular group of people didn't like, you know,
right,
and they said it. So to me, it's strange why Thomas Hare don't own up to that. He was already caught. He couldn't go nowhere. He confessed to the murder, right?
right.
He didn't confess to saying I killed Malcolm out of my love for the messenger, but he did confess to saying he got paid for the murder. You see what
Mm,
I'm saying? So it's like
yeah,
that right there within itself sound crazy. Like if the
right,
messenger
right,
ordered the hit, he don't got to put you on a payroll. Like you gonna do
right,
it
right.
for your love for him.
Right,
You see
exactly,
what I'm
right.
saying? He don't gotta pay
This
you.
is
Like
not no right. Yeah, this is not no mafia type. This is a spiritual
right.
thing that we're
You
dealing
put a
with,
yard in your hand, you go out there and
Yeah,
handle business. Like, come on, man.
indeed. But Dr. Wesley mentioned, Brother Malcolm was the one who started the pipe squad. Brothers in the FOI that would, use, some type of, like baton stick or whatever type of pipe
The
or,
pipe store, right?
yeah, saying and go upside your head. I mean, brothers knew martial arts. And, because the brothers didn't carry guns like that, he would have them using pipes, sticks, whatever.
Right.
And,
We ain't talking
Dr.
about no
Wesley said,
Sherlock Holmes pipes neither. We ain't talking about no Sherlock Holmes pipes.
nah, nah, he would bust. The brother said Malcolm cracked somebody upside their face one day with a hammer. You know what I'm saying? Because he was thought to be an agent, or, I don't know if he really was or what was the situation with that. But,
Right,
he said,
right.
Brother Malcolm was ruthless. Malcolm was from the streets. Malcolm then had acid, FOI, throw acid in people's faces. You know what
Listen,
I'm saying? Like burn out your eyes, like, for far less than what he did.
right.
Like just imagine that's the part that really took me for a loop. Like, I'm like, man,
So let me add on to that two things that I learned about Brother Malcolm, right?
mm,
That most people don't know, right? For
mm,
one, like you said, Malcolm was a street dude, right? He was a gangster, and
mm,
he had a sense of fearlessness to him even before he joined the Maz, right?
right,
Even
right,
before he joined the Maz, there's an account of him being in a bar, right? When
mm,
they was in Boston, and some cop
mm,
was like roughing up a sister or something. And I think it
mm,
was him and Shorty, his boy.
mm,
And Malcolm and them didn't like that. You know what I'm saying? So they approached the policeman for it, and
mm,
back then they didn't, they wasn't having walkie-talkies and stuff like that. Like if they wanted
mm.
backup, they gotta run to a street pole and they make the call from it, I guess, wind it up and they go to
Right.
the headquarters and then they send
Yeah.
backup,
Yeah.
So it's not like now, like they can just get to you ASAP with the
Right. Right.
telecommunication system. So Malcolm they approached the cop, to do him harm. And the cop knew that they would, you know what I mean? So you got that Malcolm, but then you also have the Malcolm that he talked about in his book, where he said he got into a beef with a cop. And he said him and the cop did their best to avoid one another. Cause he said
Mm,
both of them knew that if they crossed each other's path, that it was gonna go down. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like, and
mm.
he didn't talk like, they was just gonna fist fight. Like, the way
Right. Right.
Malcolm told the story was like, it was gonna be do or die type of situation. So Malcolm
Mm.
definitely had that gangster in him
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
that standpoint of things, right? But you may say, nah, Malcolm changed his ways once he came into the nation. He was a righteous man, and he
Mm.
was a righteous man. This is not an attack on Malcolm's character, right? Like we're trying
Right.
to,
Right.
attack his character. That's not what
Right.
this is about. This is just
Right.
about combing through the details of his life and unearthing
Mm-hmm.
things that the public may not be privy to.
Mm.
Just because it's not a focus of theirs. Not that it's a
Mm.
hidden thing because it's in the autobiography that him and Alex Haley wrote. See?
Right.
So when Malcolm joined the nation, it was a couple incidents, at least 3 incidents where he talked about it, right? One of it
Mm-hmm.
where he was talking with Gordon Parks, the famous
Mm-hmm.
photographer. He
Right.
became the
Right. Yeah.
director. Then he made Shaft.
Okay.
Gordon
Yeah.
Parks, he
Mm-hmm.
famous, right? So Gordon Parks went to Malcolm, was like, "Yo, man, why don't you just go to the police, man? Go to the police. Feel threatened that the Muslims trying to kill you, right?"
Mm-hmm.
So Malcolm said he laughed. He laughed at it like he said, "Can't nobody protect you from a Muslim but another Muslim or one trained in Muslim tactics." He
Right.
said, "I know because I invented many of them." You
Right.
see what I'm
Right.
saying?
Right.
That
Right.
was one
Yeah.
occasion, like telling
Yeah. I
you
heard
that,
that quote before. Yes, sir.
right?
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, and it was 2 other occasions where he talked about it that he invented these tactics, in terms of combat when you going against the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, like they come
Mm-hmm.
there, rough you up, pipe you down if you out of line. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's
Right.
that's just a reality. It's not a
Right.
not a kicking Malcolm in his back, nothing
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So
At the end of the day, I was just gonna say real quick, not to
mhm,
cut your wisdom. At the end of the day, Malcolm was a righteous individual. You know what I'm saying? However, if someone, like provoked him by disrespecting the messenger, or let's
mhm,
just even just say someone did what, like what he did, went on live television and said something, about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad in a disrespectful manner or whatever the case,
right.
you would see that a righteous individual would get
Right.
very street, you know what I'm saying? In
Yeah,
the way
you
that he
see the
would
good
handle
back.
things. It would, the beatdown would be savage, street
Yeah,
like, you know
right.
what I'm saying?
You have to get back
Yeah,
in
yes,
for
sir.
sure. But that's documented as well in 2 occasions, right?
Yes, sir.
One, things was gonna get real ugly, real
Mm,
ugly. I ain't gonna go into all the details about it,
mm,
but one that the press know, one that the
mm,
general public know, even if you're not a heavy study of Malcolm, right?
mm,
Everyone knows that when Ronald Stokes was killed in Los Angeles, that Malcolm, was highly upset to the point he wanted to go to war with the Los Angeles police precinct.
Police
He wanted to
department.
go
Yes,
to
sir.
war with
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
them. Right. So you can find
Hmm.
clips of him speaking about it, and
Yeah.
he's upset, he's angry. Like, that's one of the friction, like one of them between him and the messenger, because the messenger was like, nah,
Yeah.
we're
No.
not gonna
Yeah.
do that. We're not gonna go to war with with the police precinct. We're not gonna do that. And
Yeah.
Malcolm was upset
Police
about it.
department.
So
Hmm.
that's one aspect, right? But
Hmm.
on a more personal note, when Malcolm was in court for the house, right? When he was going to court to see who get the house between himself and the nation,
Hmm.
he's on record for saying that had anybody else bring news to him about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad taking on wives, he said, I would have killed them
I would
myself.
have killed him myself. Yeah. Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah.
He said, I would have
Yeah.
killed him myself. He
Yeah,
said,
I would have killed him myself. That's why I just said that. If somebody would have did what he did.
he said, the only reason why I didn't kill him is because it
Mm.
was the messenger's son. It was Wallace saying it
Right,
to him.
right,
He was like, and
right.
if you prove that it's true, he said something along those lines, if I'm not mistaken. He
Hmm.
said, if you prove it's true, then I could accept it. But he was like, he wouldn't even listen to it. And as far as reason, if it wasn't for Wallace, he wouldn't even wrestle with it to see if it was true. Are you talking
Hmm.
reckless against the messenger? So my point in bringing that up is to say this, is to say that it's natural to protect what you love. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? It's natural.
Right.
It's kind of like I could talk about my family member, right? And it could be true, but you
Hmm.
can't talk about it. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like you
Right,
ain't in the
right,
family, you
right,
can't talk about it. Like it's
right.
it's it's
That's,
kind of
yeah.
like that code
That's a
that
good analogy. Yeah, that's a good analogy. Yeah.
right. You know what I mean? So it's like nobody likes a turncoat on this earth.
Mhm.
Nobody likes a turncoat. That's why every nation on earth has a policy of treason, right? And if you commit
Right.
treason, is a penalty. You could get three. Like you could either get a fine, a monetary fine, right? You could get jail time, or depending on how severe the treason is, you could be killed. You know what I mean? Firing squad, hung, or lethal injection, whatever the case may be. Like it
Yeah.
carries a penalty of death depending on how severe it was,
Right.
right? So everybody wants to attack the nation, but come on, what Malcolm did, he went against his own nation and leader. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? He went against them, went to the press and said these things, these you know, these remarks, you know, that was highly controversial. You
Mm-hmm.
know that's you know, how can I say it? You know, it was like deceit within it. You know, like it's like you could tell the truth about something but be deceitful at the same time. You see what I'm saying? It's like he was kind of doing that. What and an example of that is if he go and say, "Oh, the messenger was messing around with his secretaries," right?
Mm-hmm.
Now that's true. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? That some of the ladies were his secretaries, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he also married them. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? He married those ladies. So if you
Right.
omit that fact from it, you just leave it as something negative or
Deceitful. Yeah.
something evil, something, you
Mm-hmm.
know, maniacal. Yeah, he just, you know, he taking advantage of his secretaries. You
Right.
see what I'm saying? So
Right.
it's not
Right.
that Malcolm didn't say some truth. He did say
Right.
some truth, but he left out some things that
Very important points,
right.
and that was one of the things that Dr. Wesley touched on too. You know what I'm saying? He was like, when you look at the Spike Lee, dramatization of Malcolm X, that movie that to this day, I just always say, man, that movie, Spike Lee just really did the nation a disservice with that movie. It was just so much stuff. Like, back in the early 90s, before I got knowledge of self and I saw that movie, I left the movie theater saying, damn, man, that fucked up, man. Elijah Muhammad, niggas had Malcolm killed, man.
Yeah.
Niggas was jealous, man. He was getting it popping more than them, and they was jealous, and Elijah had him killed. Like, I really left the movie theater saying that. That was, I was a savage back then. But even after getting knowledge of self and being among some of the guards with the five percenters, some of them hold those same sentiments. You'd be surprised, God, how many five percenters, you know
Indeed,
what I
I
mean,
believe that.
supposed to know, or at least somewhat know, they still say or have it in the back of their heads that, yo, y'all niggas killed Malcolm. Keep it a buck. You
Yeah,
know what I mean? They still think that. You know
right.
what I'm saying? But it's like just over the years, God, and when you start looking into stuff, Malcolm knew about those women in what was it 1963, I think, Dr. Wesley, and he showed receipts, showed and proved.
He said
And in the movie
1962. He said
1962, 1962,
1962.
Malcolm knew about the all of the wives of the messenger in 1962, and then he came to the messenger, whereas in the movie it showed when Malcolm stepped to Elijah about it, Elijah went into the breaking down scripture to him and explaining stuff. No, Elijah didn't say anything. That was Malcolm that was breaking down scripture to him,
Mm-hmm.
because he said him and Wallace, the first thing they did when they got together was they immediately opened up their Bible and they started looking at scriptures dealing with the prophets and the messengers, which is interesting. Like he said, that's a very interesting point to understand, because here we have an individual, Wallace, Elijah Muhammad's son, who was always a disbeliever for the most part, or at least carried himself as such, as a disbeliever in his father's teachings. But then you have Malcolm, who left, the nation and, with the Sunni Orthodox Islamic faith, and, but these individuals looked in the Bible or in scriptures for Elijah Muhammad to understand his domestic affairs. I found that to be really interesting. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
Dr. Wesley said that happened in 1962. Malcolm ain't started getting reckless with the mouth until 64, 65, when he just started to say, yo, Elijah Muhammad, he went from saying wives to teenage secretaries. You know, the word teenage popped up in there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. See, the thing about it is, if you look at Malcolm, like when he made these remarks, right,
Mm.
it always came on after something upset him. You know what I mean?
Right,
Namely,
right, yeah,
the fighting
yeah,
for the house. He was fighting
right,
to see who was going to have ownership of the house. Now, the guy
right.
Wakil was the first one to point that out to me. You know,
Mm-hmm.
it's just in his book, matter of fact, in the name
Right.
of Allah, Volume 2. And
Mm-hmm.
that's true. You know what I mean? If you look at the timeline, like
Right.
when he sent that letter back from Mecca, he
Mm-hmm.
sent that letter that, oh, I ate with white folks and,
He
maybe
already knew that they were over there.
right. But
Right.
the thing about it is he sent it after he had got a telegram that he was gonna have to fight for the house. You see what I'm saying? Then he writes that letter because you talking
Mm-hmm.
about his family. He was on salary um when he was in the Nation of Islam. Like, what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave him an allowance, like, stipend to take care of him.
Right.
Bought him that car, put him in a house, paid him. You see what I'm saying? So when he left that stability, like,
Right.
it's not like he had a bunch of businesses where he could just sit
Right.
and collect. So he's scrambling now. He have to
Right.
go to his older sister to get money to fund him to even take the trip in the first place. So
Exactly.
he got to pay her back, and on top of that, now he got to fight for the house. So he was upset, and then
Right.
you got Muslims threatening him. You got Muslims calling him up and threatening him. And let me say this, because you got a lot of people out there, right? Well, the nation was hating on him, right? Some
Mm.
people in the nation was jealous of Malcolm. Some
Oh
people
yeah.
in the nation was envious of Malcolm, right? That's a fact. That's in
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
organization,
That's a fact. That's everywhere.
right? That's
Everywhere you got
every
black folk.
yeah. You gonna get people that's and the messenger told him that, and that's is documented in the autobiography. Messenger told him that people that got fame, he said, it attract jealousy. He
Right.
told him, and he also told him about the cameras. Like, don't get addicted to cameras. But he said fame was going to bring it because the messenger
Right.
suffered the same. People was
Right.
envious of his position with Farah. So
Right.
therefore, people going to be envious of Malcolm's position with the messenger, Elijah
Right.
Muhammad. So that's a given. We're not taking that away. But
Right.
everyone in the nation that was upset with Malcolm wasn't jealous. Like, some people had legitimate reasons to be upset with him, whether
Right.
the public is privy to that or not. Like, not
Right.
everyone was jealous. Some people was just mad because Malcolm taught them to defend the messenger against people, and then he started attacking them. So of course
Mm.
they're gonna be mad at him. Like, you know what I
Right.
mean? But that don't mean that was them necessarily calling up and threatening them. To
Mm.
me personally, this is not a fact. This is just my opinion. Like, to me, that seemed like some agent stuff to do. Be calling
Right. Right.
somebody's
Right.
house, yo, I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna kill you. You know what I mean? Calling his wife nonstop on the phone, like,
Even that, even though they say these brothers were, quote unquote, in the Nation of Islam, they had already submitted their letters and stuff and had joined the FOI and stuff. Still, they were government agents because as a Muslim, there's certain things that Muslims don't do. We're not gonna, you know what I'm saying?
right.
There's rules to this thing. At the end of the day,
Yes, sir.
yeah,
Malcolm's
you
going
know,
all the time, so they know Betty gonna answer the phone. That's a good point, God.
yeah,
That's an
yeah,
excellent point. That they're gonna
you
call
know,
his wife, keep threatening. Like, I mean,
right.
I'm not
It,
saying 100%, but to me, it sounds like something the FBI would do,
right,
especially
right,
after you watch that the Netflix joint, Who Killed Malcolm?
right,
Abdul Muhammad. I
right.
think his name Abdul Rahman Muhammad. I don't mess up his name, but
Abdul Rahman Muhammad, yeah, yes, sir.
right. So in his film, he showed how they had like a 24/7 around the clock task force on Malcolm, like listening to his phone calls. So why would and I even heard the minister say they had voice analyzers to determine how stressed Malcolm was according to his vocal, like his voice tell you how stressed. So if they studying the man to that degree, like why should we put it past them that they was the ones calling his house saying, "I'm gonna kill you"? You know what I mean? I just don't know that.
It was you guys. It was the nation. Y'all killed him. That's why. That's why.
Right. And I just don't
It's
think
just like so retarded. It's become real comical and retarded, downright retarded. How people could just keep saying that, just in light of all of the information.
right.
It was a point that I was about to mention too. Oh yeah, when he Dr. Wesley touched on that when they went to court and he lost the lawsuit for the property, which, as we know, belonged to the Nation of Islam. And now the judge gave him a date that he had to be removed off of the premises, off of the property. Malcolm didn't want to leave the property. Malcolm didn't have any money saved. Malcolm, and this is according to Minister, I think it was Minister Shabazz out of Philadelphia, I believe, Jeremiah Shabazz, because Malcolm lived with him, for some years when he first came home from prison. And I remember one day, in an interview, Jeremiah Shabazz, Minister Jeremiah said, if Spike Lee wanted to know anything about Malcolm, why he just ain't come ask me?
Yeah.
The man, who gonna tell you more about him better than me? And he lived with me for like 3 years, the first 3 years or 2 years or something like that when he came home, and he was like, Malcolm didn't like to work. Malcolm did. I mean, remember, he's a former street dude, you know what I'm saying? And even after getting knowledge of self, you know what I'm saying? Malcolm didn't like to get his hands dirty. He didn't like to get down and grab no shovel and get to work or wash no dishes. Or Brother Jeremiah said he got him a dishwashing job. Malcolm worked there like 2 days and quit. He didn't want to work. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, painter job too. He got him a painter job too.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So when the threat came down from the nation that, okay, now, well, since you removed yourself from the nation, he sent a letter, Malcolm, saying, I don't want to be in the nation no more. Once he found out his suspension was indefinite, he was just like, you know what? I don't want to be here no more. I'm out. So when he did that, okay, well, you got to remove yourself off of the premises. Malcolm not having any money saved with a wife and children and stuff like that, he grew stressed. You know what I'm saying? And as you mentioned, this is when the craziness starts to happen, when he at his most stressful moments. I didn't think about that. I didn't do the knowledge. See, it's like I said, God, when I first saw that movie, I was a young cat. I'm like, what, 19, 20, 21, but it's like now we in our 40s, we could look back and watch what went on. Not only that, but get the facts and details of what went on, and we could now see it for what it truly was. Malcolm at that point started to say, you know what? Y'all better stop effing with me.
Yeah.
I got some information.
That's right.
And I'll put it out there. You know what I'm saying? I bet y'all niggas don't know Elijah had more than one wife. Yeah. And it's crazy because he said the first time he said it, he said wife. But then he started to realize, Malcolm said, damn, that ain't really stick. Because after all, he is a Muslim and Muslims can have more than one wife. Elijah Muhammad got teenage girls. You know what I'm saying? Then all of a sudden, and I always wondered that to myself, like, why did he do, you know what I'm saying, God? Like that bugged me out. But after understanding what Dr. Wesley said and the reasons behind what went on, you could understand the stress. That man was stressing crazy.
He was under so much stress and pressure because, see, he found out, I don't think he didn't calculate this before he left, that once he left the protection of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the nation, he was
Your
left naked.
finances is cut off. Your military is cut off.
He basically gave himself into their hands. Like, so
Yeah,
with Elijah, the power base, then
yeah,
that's when the phone calls start happening. That's when everything start, the whirlwind started forming in his life.
yeah.
And, like I said, I'm I don't want to make it seem like I want to paint Malcolm to be a terrible person against,
Mm-hmm.
that's not my goal. My goal
Mm-hmm.
is to express the truth, but more so to show how the FBI manipulated Malcolm
Manipulated.
and the
Yeah,
Nation
yeah,
of
yeah.
Islam, right?
Right.
To to get us where we at right now in terms of either loving Malcolm and hating the nation, or loving the nation and hating Malcolm, when we don't have to
Mm-hmm.
do that. We can love and appreciate them for who they are. You know what I
Right.
mean? We could both, what I'm saying, both love both men for their contribution, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't feel this way now presently, but
Mm-hmm.
as a child, when I first got the knowledge of self, right? In my young mind,
Mm-hmm.
when I got to that part in the book, I didn't
Mm-hmm.
like that part no more. I'm like, yo, what is this, man? Like,
What part?
the autobiography of Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
When I first read it at 13, that was the first book I ever read without pictures in it, right? I couldn't put it
Okay.
down. You know what I mean? I could
Yeah.
not put the book down. So when I first got the knowledge, I couldn't read Message to the Black Man because it was too advanced for my young mind, right?
Right.
So, and I couldn't listen to the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad lectures because he
Mm-hmm.
wasn't like an eloquent speaker. And the ones that I heard of the messenger was when he was more up in age, like in the 60s and 70s, where he really spoke slower and choppy,
Right.
But if you get some
Right.
of his lectures in the 50s, he was much more fiery and he flowed. But
Right.
I didn't get those tapes till I got a little older. So I couldn't
Mm-hmm.
listen to the messenger. So I listened to Malcolm, hella Malcolm tapes. When the ones when he was in the nation and the ones when he left the nation. I just used
Right.
to study him, right? So
Right.
I'm not speaking about Malcolm as a hater of Malcolm. I love
Right.
Malcolm. Malcolm had a great part in my development. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Because he painted pictures so well, so
Right.
sharp, so articulate. So I get why everybody loved him. I love
Right.
them. It's like what you said. It's not until the movie X came out that I began to look at Malcolm differently,
Right.
because I noticed for my peer group, like our age range,
Mm-hmm.
they left the theater and was like, yo, that's messed up, man. Elijah had Malcolm killed, man. Like, then,
Yeah. Yeah.
the Carl Evans book, people start, what I mean? I guess sales and that book shot up. And
Right. Right.
what's the other one?
Also, also, it always baffled me, why Malcolm, said what he said about just, the white Muslims over in the East, and you know, Elijah Muhammad said, that they wouldn't be able to go to Mecca, and I went to Mecca and I seen them, and I always wondered that because I heard Minister Akbar, the international representative of,
Mhm.
I think, yeah, Minister Akbar said, Malcolm Ben went over to Mecca and Jeddah. He went back in 59, I believe he said.
Yes,
So
sir.
he already knew, he didn't see nothing different then when he made his Hajj and then Umrah to when he went again in the 60s, for the messenger or whatever. There was nothing different about that, and the reason is because when he left the nation, he said that uh, a lot of organizations didn't want to mess with Malcolm because even though you're not in the Nation of Islam no more, you still got a lot of the Nation of Islam rhetoric. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
You calling the white man the devil, and just a lot of the rhetoric is Nation of Islam, that Elijah Muhammad hatred talk. So they didn't want to mess with him. So Malcolm, being clever again, hey, I went and made Hajj, and when I went over there, I think it changed my perspective on how I see things, and it worked. Like Dr. Wesley said, it was a beautiful scheme by Malcolm, And it worked because even till this day, to show you that it was such a masterful scheme, even till this day it works. Because you
Yeah.
got fools that'll be like, man, y'all niggas following that old Elijah Muhammad, old Nation of Islam, Islam. That ain't real. Even Malcolm went over to the East and said that, you know what I'm saying? It changed, and it was such a masterful plan.
It really was. I mean, to the unaware, but
To
if
the
you look at,
unaware. If you didn't know what was going on, you'd be like, wow.
hmm he mentioned that trip in the autobiography. He said
Right,
that he was sent as an emissary of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad to
right,
Africa and the Middle East. So
right.
it's just like a sentence, you know what I mean? So he just glossed over it. But like you
Yeah,
said, the same Muslims that he saw in '64 when he went, the same Muslims he saw in '59, you know?
right.
So
Nothing
some
different.
people may try to say, well, he didn't go into the holy city of Mecca himself. He went into Jeddah, right?
Hmm.
But the thing
Hmm.
about that is Jeddah is right next to Mecca. Like
Yeah,
all the
right,
pilgrims that go on Hajj, they have to go
right,
through Jeddah to get to Mecca. So
right,
either way, he saw them. He saw them. He
right.
knew they exist. Like Abu Shahi said in the book on Wakil, him and
Yeah,
Wakil did
it
together,
was
The
something,
Naked Truth.
yeah,
He even talked
yeah,
about Malcolm teaching on white Muslims being left in Mecca in
right,
ancient times when we gathered them all up, from
right,
General Monk and marched them into the caves. He said that
right,
some of them hid in our homes and they
right.
stayed there in the Holy Land and they came up in the Holy Land. So he used to teach that in FOI class. So he knew
Right.
that they were there. As a matter of fact, Master Fard Muhammad's mother had him. He was born in Mecca. She not from
Right,
Mecca. She
right.
from by the Caucasus Mountains in that
Caucasus
area.
Mountain.
I forget how to
Right.
pronounce the name stuff. My brother Abdullah, he know how to pronounce that name.
Mm,
But anyway, when he was born, Masfar, he was in Mecca. Because that's what
mm,
our lessons say. You know what I mean? He was
right.
born in Mecca, the teachings, right? So
Mm,
Malcolm knew that it was white folks
right.
there, right? But two things, like I said, for one, he got a telegram telling him he was going to have to fight for his house, right? And
Mm,
secondly, he wanted to pair up with the civil rights movement, see,
mm,
because he detached himself from his power base, which was the Nation of
right.
Islam. So now he
Right.
just out here all alone. So he figured, well, if I connect with the civil rights, then you know what I'm saying, I have some type of momentum going
Mm,
forward. I need to connect, so I can't just be out here alone.
right.
But remember, in the press, he used to dog the civil rights leaders out. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? You can go hard at
Right.
them.
Right. That's what I
Um,
said. And they didn't want to mess with him because he still had that Elijah Muhammad monkey on his back, as Dr.
right.
Wesley mentioned, you
The
know.
farce on Washington. That's what he called it in his book. The farce
Right.
on Washington, where he went in on
Right.
King and them and the
Yeah.
rest of them, six of
Yeah.
them bad boys. And
Yeah.
he did that as a ploy to try to say, look, you
Right.
know, I don't feel that
Change.
way about white folks no
Right.
more. So
I don't think
let
like
me
that
in
no
your
more.
circle.
Right.
Right?
Yeah. And it was a
But
masterful plan. I mean,
the reason why it wasn't sincere, right?
mm,
It wasn't sincere is because number one, he didn't allow no white folks to join his movement. You just see what I'm saying? He had two. He had the OA is the OAAU, right?
mm,
Organization
mm,
for Afro American Unity, and he
right.
also had Muslim Mosque Incorporated,
Muslim
and he
Boss
didn't allow
Incorporated.
them to join neither one of them. You see what
Mm,
I'm saying? So that right there tell you that
interesting. I didn't know that.
yeah.
Wow.
He said the only white person he would let join, he said maybe John Brown, maybe. You know
Who's
what I
John
mean? John
Brown?
Brown, the abolitionist, that,
Oh,
that they said took the guns from the
yeah.
armory and stuff. Yeah, John
Wow.
Brown. He was like maybe him, John Brown, but
Yeah.
other than him, he was like nah. So
That's real interesting, man. It's a lot of stuff, man, that like I said, is Dr. Wesley gave us like 4 hours, man, of just Man, yo, whoever didn't see that, man, yo, yeah, I need to definitely check that out, man. I mean, it's definitely something that, like really in my mind or in my view, they need to just do a whole Malcolm X movie over again with all of the facts that we now have, with the
Yes.
truth. You know what I'm saying? And of course, Hollywood would never do that. You know,
No, we
Holly,
don't have to
Holly,
do
Holly, Holly Weird, as they say, Holly Weird would never do that.
it.
You know
He
what I'm
told us to
saying?
burn Hollywood burn anyway.
Yeah, yeah. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, God, I ain't gonna hold you long, man. Like I said, I just wanted to come on here real quick and just build on that real quick. You know what I'm saying? I'm definitely gonna probably end up watching it again. One day while I'm at work or whatever, just pop
But
in my little earbuds and listen to it again, man, because it's so much information. I know I didn't retain everything in that one, little moment that I listened to it. So I'm gonna definitely have to go back and listen again.
yeah, it's
You know what
four
I mean?
4 hours of that thing, man. But
Yeah,
let,
yeah,
let,
yeah. Like I
let
said,
me
man,
say this
again, Shukran.
before we leave. Can I say one thing before we part out
Yes,
of here?
sir.
We part out of here.
Yes, sir.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
want to leave on this note, right?
Mm,
Because, like I said, Malcolm was in, man, a whirlwind of worries. You know,
mm,
like even Alex Haley said one day he called him on the phone. He said for the first time he didn't recognize who he was talking to because his voice was so strained. He was under so
mm,
much pressure, Malcolm, right? So his head's spinning. He don't know if he coming or going because this espionage thing was kicked all the way up. Like I said,
mm,
J. Edgar Hoover and them started it and during the Garvey movement in the 20s with the UNIA. By the time
mm.
the 60s came around, he perfected that thing. So
Oh, yeah.
it really did a number on black organizations. So and Malcolm was alone. He didn't have the guidance of his mentor, right?
Right,
So
right.
of course he gonna think the nation is doing these things to him, right? Because
Mm,
he know the nation is upset with him, and they did
right.
want to kill him. But
Yeah, yeah,
Elijah
yeah.
Muhammad said, don't touch him. You
Right,
see? He
right,
said, don't
right.
touch him. But again, let me make this quick point.
Mm,
The people want the nation to be the villain about that
mm,
because we was mad enough to want to kill him during that
right,
period. But
right,
like we said earlier, Malcolm trained them like that because he was like
right,
that. He trained
right,
the FOI. Yo, if
right,
anybody crossed the messenger, we handle them, right?
right,
So that's a natural thing. You know that I'm not ashamed about that
right,
at all because Malcolm said he would have killed them too, right? But
right, right.
what I really want to say is that by the towards the end of his life, he
Mm,
realized that the Nation of Islam wasn't trying to kill him, that it was
right,
actually the
right,
CIA and the FBI. See,
right,
he
right,
figured
right,
that out
right,
and he even said it. It's documented in the autobiography. It's documented. You see what
right.
I'm
Yes,
saying?
sir. Yes,
Because
sir.
he did a couple of things. He was poisoned while he was in Africa, had to get his stomach pumped.
Right.
You
And he
know,
went
no
to
effort
France.
ain't following you halfway across the world to
Right,
poison.
right,
You see what I'm
right,
saying? He went to
right,
France, and France didn't allow him to come into their borders because they knew
right. They
he
didn't
was
want the
going to
blood
get
on their hands.
killed,
Yeah.
right? So they was like, not on our soil, right?
Right,
So that
right.
that woke him up.
That
In the
made him
last,
start saying, I'm gonna stop saying it was the Muslims or the Nation of Islam,
the Muslims,
and then really, and according to his words, he said, I'm gonna stop saying them. Period. But
right?
in the movie, I think Spike Lee's movie, the deceptiveness of the movie, I think in there he said, I'm gonna stop saying this only the nation,
Oh man,
you
I'm so
know.
glad you pointed that out, brother.
Right. If it is them, then they're working with somebody else. It's always the evil machinations of the devil to keep us connected to that
Right.
murder, to that.
I'm gonna stop saying it's just them. But when you read the autobiography, he don't say nothing like that. He say I
No.
was too
I
hasty.
know it's not them because they
Right.
can't do what the hell is going on to me. They don't got no power like that. I'm all the
Right.
way in France and shit popping off for me over here. You know what I'm saying?
And also, I
True
think Dr.
indeed.
Wesley pointed out in his lecture that PC put together. He
Mm,
said that they left gasoline, a thing of gasoline on his dresser.
Right.
And I didn't know this until Dr. Wesley pointed out. I
Wesley,
knew
yeah,
about the
yeah,
gasoline,
yeah,
but I
yeah.
didn't know that black fireman hit Malcolm to it, that he saw the police do it. So it was
Right,
the France thing, it was the Egypt thing, and it was his house bombing. So
right,
they planted it.
right.
So then he
And
knew.
that's why the Nation of Islam thought Malcolm, you know what I'm saying? We thought he was lying because he was like, yo, he's trying to destroy it himself because he don't want to give it back to us. You know what I'm
Brother,
saying? And Malcolm was like, yeah, they tried to do it or whatever. But when the fireman told him, you know, how it got there and where it was put, you know what I'm saying? I mean, first of all, you would have to say, first of all, we're not going to kill women and children like that. You know what I'm
indeed.
saying?
Yes, sir.
So, yeah, you know, it's so much, God. Yo, that, like I said, man, Dr. Wesley, man, he, once again, the Muslim God came through and showed and proved, you know what I'm
Oh, yeah,
saying?
he
Proved it.
brought a whole receipt book, man. Not just he brought a whole book of receipts, bro. Listen,
Man,
but that's to me, I think that's what accelerated his death. Like,
yeah,
because in the book, his secretary mentions that he said to her personally, I'm gonna stop saying it was just that. No, not just that. It's the Muslims. He said, I'm
right,
gonna stop. Right now,
right.
she made that account, but also Herman Ferguson, who was a part of Malcolm's organization, says the same thing. So I think that's
Mm,
why the FBI was like, we got to move now before he make that public. It go too public, and then we
right.
can't kill two birds with one stone. And that's
Mm,
what sealed Malcolm's fate
wow.
completely.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. And then he had names. It was some names, three names that he was supposed to have named out the day he was killed in the Audubon Ballroom of, I think, three of the, you know, people that, you know what I'm saying, one of them dead. You know
mm-hmm.
what I mean? And then they showed the agents after he was killed, you know, running up to him trying to, one is giving them mouth to mouth. You know,
She
that
got
was,
that list going in his pockets to get that list.
right, right, yeah, yeah, going in his pockets. And Dr. Wesley showed that. He was like, this is almost like the FBI, you know, the alphabet boys, because you know he was FBI, you know, on domestic soil, but internationally, you know, they sent word that hey, he's free reign now, so that made him an international terrorist. So now the CIA jumped on him,
Right.
but every time uh, a freedom fighter is killed, like when Patrice Lumumba, when he was killed over in Africa, Martin Luther King, when he was killed, you always gonna see a federal agent right there on the scene. You know, Dr. Wesley pointed that out. They're always going to be the first ones on the scene right there. I mean, well, they did it. So, of course, they're the first ones on the scene, but they are the first ones to check for vitals,
Right.
to
Right.
make sure the operation was successful.
Right.
You know what I'm
And
saying?
if Pahlavi was here, he probably could go into the FBI, infiltrating Noble Drew Ali in the Moore Science Temple too. I bet. I don't have any information about it myself, but
Right,
I'm sure, we talked to some Moors,
right.
they run it down, and I'm pretty sure they had agents in this movement as well.
Of course. It's like common sense now. It's like once you know what's going on here, God, it's like that's a common sense. You know what I'm saying? You
Right.
know. But one more thing I just wanted to point out too before we, you know, close it out is Malcolm never left the Nation of Islam in the sense that he always wanted to be in the bosom of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Always. That was one thing Dr. Wesley pointed out too. He was always wanting to apologize so he can get back in. And Elijah, before him being assassinated, knew he was coming back. And that's why Elijah Muhammad, well, one of the reasons why he said the messenger told everyone to leave him alone. Leave Malcolm alone. Leave him to Allah. You know, leave him alone. Because he knew he's eventually going to come back to me. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
So
sir.
it's like the messenger knew he was going to eventually one day come back. And the alphabet boys, you know, the beast knew that one day he was going to eventually come back. So again, it was like that race now, like, yo, we got to hurry up and off this cat. You know what I'm saying? Get it
Kid,
over with, you
kid.
know?
Get it over
But
with. They didn't
that's
want to
one of the
do
things
that.
that people need to understand. All of the Malcolm lovers out there, I call them so-called Malcolm lovers because they love Malcolm, because Malcolm is not here to call them on their foolishness.
Right.
Some of the things that some of these individuals have said about, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, Seti and Pharaoh and these cats. I
Mm.
mean, you're not a aide of Malcolm or a friend of Malcolm speaking disrespectful like that about the most honorable Elijah Muhammad.
Right.
Malcolm would have took your head off even until death. You know what I'm saying? Like clearly, he always had a love for the messenger,
Yeah.
and he
If
always
you
kept
read
Islam as his faith. He never left Islam.
if you read I think it's Peter Goldman's book, if I'm not mistaken. Peter
Mm,
Goldman's book on Malcolm, Kenyatta 37X has a
mm,
quote in here, and what he this is an important detail because Kenyatta left the Nation of Islam and went
mm,
with Malcolm. Right,
mm,
he was like his most fierce bodyguard. So, or
mm,
one of them, I should say. He was highly, looked at as, legitimate security for Malcolm, like
mm,
capable. So he says that if the most honorable Elijah Muhammad would have called 5 minutes before Malcolm was killed and told him come back, that he said Malcolm would have came.
yeah.
So to me, that's significant because Kenyatta not a part of the nation. It's like he left the nation. He never went back to being a Muslim. And once
Mm,
he left, he went off, and I think he got into Christianity or something. I was told,
mm,
he had like
okay.
an Asian wife or something, but that's
Mm,
significant. He said that he would have went back 5 minutes before.
mm.
So I just think,
Very important points, man. Very important points, man.
yeah, Malcolm had literally had the world on his shoulders. When he
Yeah,
left
yeah,
the bosom of the most honorable Elijah Muhammad, he left his protection, his guidance.
yeah,
It was a strain. And then, his home life too, because,
yeah.
his wife pressing him about money. He losing the home. She's
And and
pregnant with
and and
twins. He
and
got
not
4 children already.
right. And not just that, but the marital affairs that, or the marital problems, I'm gonna just say, the marital problems that Malcolm was going through with Sister Betty was, something that I think Dr. Ali Muhammad, when he broke out some of the letters from Malcolm, just explaining, just certain situations with him and his wife, and he didn't want to, burden the messenger with his personal problems, but he felt the need to tell him about this and that, and it was a lot that he was going through. You know what I'm saying? A lot of stuff, man.
It was a lot, man.
You
And also, I don't know, we don't have no time to go into it, but I would just want to say for the record, because I put a post up on my Facebook the other
mm,
day after Malcolm's death, and the messenger said it was at Savior's Day 1965, and
mm,
he said the people know that I love Malcolm. He said that I
mm,
guess he was talking about the media, the Western media and stuff,
mm,
and he said they know I love Malcolm.
mm.
You know, he said Malcolm would have been here with me if he would have died a natural death. We would have gave him a glorious burial. Like,
Yeah,
and I just want to say that because I don't think people ever factor that in, that they
right.
had a legitimate father-son
Son
relationship.
relationship. Yeah,
You
Elijah
know,
Muhammad truly looked at him as he was his son.
right? See, we watch these movies and they play on our emotions, and we view life from that. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
Like you said, that
Right.
movie came out in '92, right? X,
91, 92. Yeah.
right? So you got people our age in their 40s and 50s that have been
Mhm.
harboring that hatred for the messenger since then because of a movie. You
Exactly.
see?
Yeah.
And
That's
the
why I
brother
began by
Abu,
saying Spike Lee really did a disservice to the black community. He set the nation back 15, 20 years. I mean, look at the momentum the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan was gaining in the hood. No one has gained momentum in the hood like that since the father
Yeah,
among the youth. No
yeah.
one. You
But
know
look
what I
at this.
mean?
The brother Abdur carried on the tradition that Spike Lee, started a spark too, because in his movie, Who Killed Malcolm X, right? If you notice, every time they speak about the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, they got like the sinister music playing in the background, like it's subtle. You see what I'm saying? Like he ain't saying it outright, but he doing it like a slick devil would do. You know what I mean? And the subtle music of his villain music every time the messenger is brought up. So that play on your emotion, your subconscious. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Like you ain't aware of it because it's happening subconsciously, but you have these bad feelings, negative feelings towards the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, a man that never did us no wrong. He didn't wrong Malcolm. He didn't kick Malcolm out the nation. Malcolm left.
Malcolm left.
He didn't take advantage of underage girls. He married them. Like he really loved Malcolm and he loved black people. And it's
Yeah.
just a shame that we get duped by the FBI. You know what I'm saying? The same corny trick. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's get at Malcolm, kill him, and blame the nation. So that way they can't follow Malcolm because he dead, and they refuse to follow Elijah because they think he killed him. Like,
Yeah.
it's like, yo, man, I'll feel ashamed of myself if I fell for that corny trick, man. Like, it's corny. You,
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't even know how to put no planet in that. Like,
Like
it's
I said,
obvious.
man, like I began saying when we first started building God, it's like, yo, the Black Panther Party, the SCLC, the UNIA, I mean the Moore Science Temple of America, like nobody, the nation, we just can't outlive, you know what I'm saying? Just because we got an agent provocateur, we not gonna be able to live that down. They always gonna say you niggas got Malcolm whacked off.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear it. I don't care how much facts you got. You
Well,
guys killed Malcolm.
yeah.
We're not going
Besides,
to be able to get out of it. It's a crazy conundrum that they put the gods in, but I don't know, God. It's crazy, man.
and
But
they
yeah,
don't
man.
even
But
have
yo,
they don't even have these guys. Like to me, in my mind,
mm,
like they don't even have them as a integral part of the nation. Like that's what I'll be saying to people. Like how that the FBI didn't plant them into the nation. That's one, right? But you don't. Let's say that scenario is not true. Let's say Thomas Hare was a sincere Muslim. He was
mm,
actually an official FOI, right? Let's say
mm,
hypothetically that's so,
mm,
right? And the other four guys with him, right?
mm,
Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, you could turn devil overnight, right? You could be in the nation 30 years, a devout Muslim, right? That white man get you in the corner and spin you, you know what I mean? Tell you, listen, we gonna send you to prison, or we gonna kill one of your loved ones if you don't do this. Like they always try to get once you get in bed with them, like can we honestly say you a Muslim still? You in bed with them now. You one of their agents. You see what
exactly.
I'm saying? You working for them now. So why
That
people don't
that's
consider that could have happened to them? Because that's what Roy Woods is saying. Roy Woods
right.
is saying he wanted to get out of it, but they threatened him like, "Yo, we gonna get you for this. We'll ruin your
Right.
life and put this on you." So he had to stay on their payroll. Like that's what they do. That's what devils do. So it's
Yeah.
like, why can't people even consider that that's a great possibility based on
Yeah.
that's their format?
Yeah. 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 It's crazy, God. It's crazy, man. But man,
We
I'm
just
just
we
thankful that, at least we have the information today to to properly defend ourselves, and our messenger, and our culture, because I mean, at the end of the day, all you could do is just, hey, the facts is here. It's up to you if you want to look at it, if you want to, remain as Iblis who saw the truth but still said, I don't care. I'm gonna say what I want to say. Then hey,
brother.
uh,
The ill
you
part
know,
about it is two of the assassins come from my hometown, man. It's like my town always up into some BS, man. You know what I mean? The
wow,
Talmadge here and Leon Davis. They
They
both
from
of them
Patterson,
guys
New
from
Jersey.
Patterson, New Jersey, yeah. And the
Stop
other
playing,
three
God.
was from Newark, yeah.
Wow.
So we involved with that, with Malcolm's murder. We involved with the World Trade bombing. It's like, yo,
Yeah,
it's crazy, man.
you
I even
guys are
saw,
some
I
ruthless
saw,
cat.
I saw a documentary where it said dude from Patterson, may have killed Biggie Smalls one time, and that's when
Ah,
I dropped the ball. Like what? When I saw that, I
yeah,
said, nah, man. So
yeah,
somebody playing the trick, man. Come on.
that's crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
but yo, God, I'm about to get ready so I can shut it down. You know what I mean? But it's always good building with you. You know what I mean? Like I said, I'm sorry the God couldn't jump in with us. I thought he was gonna jump in. I was trying to, wait a little while, extend it to see if he would, but
That
it's
would have
all
took a
good.
good 2 or 3 hours easy, man. This subject,
Yeah.
man, you can speak about for 8 hours. We ain't
Yeah,
even
yeah,
really
yeah,
touch no
yeah. We
details,
definitely
bro.
we definitely got to do a part two because it's still some more stuff that was said by Dr. Wesley and some more receipts that he was actually able to show and prove that I
Yeah.
definitely want to touch on some more. So yeah, we could
Yes.
definitely do another build on this. You know what I mean? Maybe
Look,
next
look,
week
look,
or
look at this.
anything. You know what I mean?
I ain't hardly touch on this book by Manning Marable, right? That speak about your point in terms of Malcolm and Mecca and everything.
Yeah,
This book right here, this is
yeah.
one of the best books I ever read on Malcolm, man. By
Oh yeah.
James 7X Najee.
Wow.
It's an ill
Okay.
book, man, because it show about his life inside the Nation of Islam. It
Yeah.
show what Temple 7 was like before Malcolm got there, his impact
Uh,
on it, and then when he left and Farrakhan came. Like it's an
right.
amazing book, amazing.
Right.
And you
Right.
got
Right.
the Kill book in the name of Allah.
Yeah.
He touch
Oh
on
yeah.
little
Oh yeah.
aspects of
That's like
Malcolm's
the
life.
five. That's the 5% of encyclopedia right there.
Yes,
You know what
sir.
I mean? That's our. You know what I'm saying? That's our textbooks right there.
Then you got the big gun right here. Pull out. That's when we're gonna pull out the big gun on him, man, by brother Dimitri.
Oh yeah.
The billion kill
Start
Malik.
talking about
Woo!
brother Demetric.
Over
And
300 pages, man. Over three.
brother Wesley, and big killers like that. Forget about it.
So
The
we
information.
could have went for 8 hours, man. 16 hours, man.
Yeah, yeah, But yeah, God, man, definitely, man. It's always good building with you, man. Like I said, we definitely gonna take a part two and jump back on this subject again because I know there's definitely much more to speak on. You know what I mean? But with that being said, God, I'm gonna say peace to the God.
Peace.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam.